Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really high-stakes legal battle that, believe it or not, put an entire country's constitution on trial.
I mean, think about it. We're looking at a case in Fiji where the Supreme Court had to answer this fundamental question. Which constitution is the real one? Is it the one created by the people, or is it the one that's been governing them for the last decade?
So, to get to the heart of this, we're going to start with the history that led to this crossroads. Then we'll unpack the core arguments in the case, look at the proposed paths forward, and finally dig into why this decision matters far, far beyond Fiji's shores.
So how did Fiji even get here? Let's take a quick look at the key events that really set the stage for this whole confrontation.
Okay, so back in 1997, Fiji was celebrating this new constitution that was born from wide public consultation. It was seen as a real consensus document. But then, fast forward to 2009, and that same constitution was, well, it was legally torn up by decree. 4 years later, a new constitution was put in place, not by the people, but by the government. And ever since then, the country has held 3 national elections under this new and very disputed framework.
All right, let's dive into the first major argument. This one was presented on behalf of the Social Democratic Liberal Party, or SODELPA, and their position? It's pretty simple. The 2013 Constitution is illegal.
So their core claim is that the 2013 Constitution, which literally starts with the words, "We the people of Fiji," wasn't actually created by the people at all. They say it was forced upon them by a government backed by the military without any real consultation or a vote. They also argue it centralizes way too much power in just a few hands and has parts that are, simply unworkable.
And this is exactly what they mean by inoperable. To amend this constitution, you need a 75% vote in Parliament and 75% approval from all registered voters in a referendum. That is one of the highest thresholds anywhere in the world, making it practically impossible to ever change through democratic means.
Now, in response, another lawyer argued that, look, regardless of how the 2013 Constitution started, it is now the legitimate law of the land. And why? Well, because the people themselves have accepted it.
So the crucial point here is this idea of implied consent. The argument goes that by showing up and voting in 3 general elections under this constitution, the people of Fiji have, in effect, accepted it. They've used it, they've lived under it, they've voted under it, and over time, that practical acceptance has made it the valid law.
And to support this, they point right to the first election under the new rules in 2014. The voter turnout was over 80%. This, they argue, is direct, hard evidence of widespread public acceptance of the new system.
But then, a third group, known as the G11, came in with a much more nuanced and, frankly, more complex perspective. They didn't just pick one constitution over the other. No, instead, they argued that Fiji essentially has 2 constitutions at the exact same time.
Okay, to understand their argument, you gotta know these 2 key legal terms. De jure basically means what is legally rightful, the law in principle. And de facto means what exists in reality, the law in practice, whether it's legally right or not.
So, the G11's argument is this. The 1997 Constitution is still the de jure, or the true law of Fiji, because it was never legally repealed. The 2013 version, they say, is just the de facto system. It's the one everyone is forced to use in practice. And those high voter turnouts, they argue that's not acceptance, that's just compliance. People had no other choice if they wanted to have any say in their country's politics.
And this powerful quote from the G11's lawyer really just captures the entire essence of their argument. An act that was illegal from the very beginning can't just become legal because a lot of time has passed. The original sin, they're basically saying, remains.
So, faced with all of these conflicting arguments, the court was then presented with 2 very different roadmaps for how Fiji could possibly move forward.
So on the one hand, you had SODELPA proposing a clean break, declare the 2013 Constitution invalid, let the current government serve as an interim body, and then hold new elections under the old 1997 rules. The G11, on the other hand, proposed a pathway. They said, rule that the 1997 Constitution is the true law, but keep the current government running under the 2013 framework for now. And then task that very same government with creating a legal process for the people to finally decide their own constitution through a referendum.
Now, what's really crucial here is that both of these solutions relied on this idea called the doctrine of necessity. It's basically a legal tool that says, hey, in a crisis, we can validate some otherwise illegal acts just to prevent the entire country from falling into chaos. So in this case, it would mean that all the laws passed and all the decisions made since 2013 wouldn't suddenly become void, which would ensure stability no matter what the court decided.
But why does this complex legal battle in a small island nation matter so much? Well, because the questions at its very heart are totally universal.
This case is about so much more than just Fiji. It is a fundamental test of the rule of law itself. It asks these huge questions. What does consent of the people actually mean? Can voting be considered consent if you don't really have any other options? And how does a country put itself back together and restore legality after its foundational laws have been broken?
And that leaves us with a final, really provocative thought that this entire case boils down to. When the official rulebook gets thrown out, who truly has the authority to write a new one? Is it the government that holds power, the court that interprets the law, or is it the people who are meant to be sovereign? The answer to that will define a nation's future.